Welcome back, everybody. Yep, it's that time of the week again, bitch. This is another tragic episode of Old School, New School Comedy Podcast, and I am your host, Christy Miller. And with me in the studio this week is a dear friend. She's actually being mentored by my best friend, Teddy Smith, who was on a few episodes back, and who's one of the best comics out there. And she's an up-and-coming comic, just a few years in. Very funny, has it quickly. From Long Island, totally runs the Long Island scene out there. She's a regular at Governor's, and she's done the New Jersey comedy festivals and some other bullshit festivals that take your money. And I think they're all a Ponzi scheme. But anyway, so she's a dear friend. I love her, and I would love to introduce you all to the very funny Laura Patton.
Oh, thank you. Hello, Christy. Hello, everyone out there. Hello. I apologize. You know, it was India Day Fest, so I had to get across town. So
No, it wasn't the Indian Day Festival. Thank you very much. No, sorry.
No, I'm
going to get canceled for that now. No, it's all right. No, don't worry about it. It's
okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy in New York, especially in the summertime. There's a parade and a food festival every
weekend.
Yesterday, 8th Avenue was blocked off for the food festival, and there was no food.
I know, and I abandoned my car like 40 blocks ago, and I'm like, I'm just going to walk it. It won't be terrible.
You haven't been in the city that often, have you?
I know. What a Long Island
She
move.
forgets.
I know, so stupid.
You live in suburbia Long
I
Island.
know. I'm like, I'm just going to take the bus to the train. No, it's fine. It's fine. So good to be here. This is a treat, and I'm flattered that you consider me new school-ish. So
Yeah.
I saw some of your...
Well, new school, old school doesn't necessarily mean age. It's your age in comedy.
Okay, yeah.
So you're a child, even
Yes,
though you're
yes.
190.
I think I'm older than you.
Wait, where's my thing? Anyway, I'm all prepared. So Laura, every time I say your name, I always think of, what was the show with Urkel? Laura!
Oh, yeah. Did I do that?
Yeah,
Family Matters.
Family Matters,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
because nobody's family matters. Anyway, it's so stupid. That was for me, not for anybody else out there. So what made you want to do comedy?
Well, I guess the easiest thing is, so I was listening to like Sterners. I've always been a fan of comedy, so I love comedy, right? And I was listening to Stern, and I forget if it was Chappelle or someone. Someone said, "Are you living room funny or stand-up funny?" And there's a tremendous difference.
Huge difference.
And I didn't know. So I would consider myself living room funny for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from a funny family, come from funny friends, everyone always fighting to be funny.
Yeah.
And telling good stories.
Of course.
And my house was burning at home, like figuratively, like my kids and my job and turning 50. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to take a class and see if I'm stand-up funny.
Yeah,
That's
why not?
literally it. And then a friend of mine was like, I'll pay for the class if you take it with my girlfriend. So I was like, all right. And I signed up for the class at the Cellar. And then his girlfriend backed out. And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. So I signed up in January. I took the class with Rick Chrome, who I love.
We love Rick Chrome.
Love Rick. Look, he's become such a dear friend to me. And then the world shut down with COVID. And I still had my real job. I still was making money. And there were people on the class that were. And then obviously all you comics weren't.
Right.
And then Rick said, I'm going to try and do this over Zoom. And then that's what I did for like a year and a half. While the world shut down, I just took classes and learned setup. I'm sweating, it's so bad. I took classes like learning the art of the joke. And my stories could be funny, but no one gives a shit on stage. Like if you don't have a joke within 12 seconds and setup, punch, and very traditional, and words with K's are funny. That's why chuckle, fucker, and pickle are funny, and douche is not as funny. Well, maybe it kind of is, but
it is.
It
really is. Careful of leaning back on this
yes.
fabulous brick wall I have here.
No, I won't. So that's what.
Maybe scoot a little farther forward.
Forward, okay.
That way you don't keep hitting the wall.
So that's what I did, and I took classes for a while, and I met a wonderful woman, Jody, crazy from like that would fly here from out west, and through a whole lineup of things. I did my first graduation class like July of 2021. We tried to do it over Zoom, and that was hard.
Yeah.
So we did a live class at the Cellar, which was great. So I have like the tape at the Cellar, and then I learned people like, don't make a tape at the Cellar. You're not really at the Cellar, so it doesn't really mean anything.
It's a double-edged sword, and everybody can go fuck themselves. As far as I'm concerned, if you got a good set at the Cellar, and even though you're not at the Cellar, who gives a shit?
Right. And if I send it to Ohio, they think
they don't. Yeah, they're gonna think you're better than you are.
Right.
Anyway,
which I'm not.
And they'll be in for a rude awakening. Nothing.
So then Jody, through Bob DeBona, was taking a class, doing a show in Poughkeepsie, and I drove up to be nicer because she came into New York.
Mm-hmm.
I met Teddy, and that was how the machine started. That's
fantastic.
literally how it started.
I remember you going to Poughkeepsie. I remember Teddy doing that show in Poughkeepsie, and he goes, I met these two comics up there. They're really cool. And one lives on the West Coast and one's on the East Coast. I go, did she drive you back? He goes, yeah. I go, then I love her.
Yeah, that's it. So I've learned a comedian with a car,
Yeah.
especially for the city, is tremendous.
It's huge. You will work more than any other an up and coming comic can be hilarious if they don't have a car. They're not working.
So that was it. And literally, and I'm not going to lie, I'll take advantage of the whole thing. Proximity to Teddy is tremendous. Teddy is so well respected in this space.
Yep.
And people love him, and he's hilarious. And you and I both agree that he should be more famous than he is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And just by me sitting next to Teddy, people are like, hey, do you want to do a show? I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
and that's
it's guilty by association. It's who you will. I always try to tell comics, I'm in 100 years, and I always tell them, hang out with people at your level or higher, because you want to be pushing yourself. You want to elevate yourself. And if you hang out with all the low-hanging fruit at the open mics, the ones that ain't doing shit, but you're just getting by, it's almost like you're a cubicle open micer. You're like going to the open mics, like punching a time clock, 5 o'clock hits, you leave. It's like, no, you gotta, if you want to be great, you gotta surround yourself with greatness.
And Teddy has been amazing with proximity, and
Yep.
I've been able to offer things to him that I took for granted, because I had regular life before. I made it to 50, not in the comedy world, so
Right.
I've amassed professional relationships and personal relationships, and I have a house, and I have children, and a husband, and all those things that sadly a lot of people in comedy have to sacrifice, because this is a really tough
Yeah, I
business.
don't have any of that.
It's a tough business to cultivate a family. So I was blessed that I did all that prior. I have, I was fortunate with like a good job and a husband with benefits, those type of things that I'm able to share. Hey, Teddy, come out to the Hamptons for the weekend at my sister's house, and stuff that I didn't think was a big deal, but
Yeah,
I got him in a pool. I didn't know he can't swim, and that's so racist, but he can. So, things like that. And of course,
Teddy's been around a lot of white people for a lot of his life, so there's a lot of things you're gonna find. I didn't know black people did that. No, Teddy does that. Teddy's not regular. He's
and
hilarious.
I learned when we go into 7-Eleven, I drink the drink before I pay for it. And I've learned from him that it's a privilege. So things like that have been.
Yeah, because if he did it, they would tackle him to the
Yes,
ground. It's
I did not know. So
yeah, because that's white privilege. Listen, I milk my white privilege wherever possible, especially in New York City, because late at night, back in 2019, you didn't know me then, but I got assaulted on the R train, knocked out, hospital, whatever, and my eye was all busted up, but I'm fine. But it was pretty traumatic. So then I had a hard time walking by myself at night. And then when the pandemic hit, then things got crazy because everything was shut down and we had nowhere to put the homeless. So instead of them being on the Lower East Side or out in Queens or way out far away where they usually are at the shelters, we had to bring them into the hotels to separate them to keep the spread down, right? So now they're wandering the streets. They're in a whole new level. They've leveled up. So they're wandering around and their food supply is gone. Their tourist supply for money, for food. The restaurants were closed. So their whole supply chain cut off overnight.
Yeah.
And they're not functioning like us normal people. So they have to do whatever they have to do. So if there's a warm body outside, they're gonna attack. I would too. I'd kill everybody if I was in that position.
I get it.
I'll kill you right now. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like I understood it. And then somebody tried to come for me in the summer of 2020. I was by myself on a street that was where the Hard Rock Cafe is on 48.
Yeah.
It was all under construction. So it was dead, dark, no life, nothing. And then it was lockdown. It was July. So it was like nothing was open really. And this dude saw me and made a beeline for me. I saw him coming. I blocked the punch and fucking chased him down the street and then called the cops. But I have a fear of walking down, like not a fear, but like a little hesitation walking down a street with a lot of scaffolding and it's dark and it's not very well lit or a lot of people around. So I carry brass knuckles.
I think I could use it on 48th Street. I think that's how I overcharge the street.
But I carry them as a defense, not to use them. But when I show them, people back off. When they try to come up, they're like, they'll like circle me and I'll just pull my hand on my pocket. I'm like, there ain't nothing in here for you. and they're like, oh, my bad, sorry, ma'am, and they walk off.
Yeah.
But if I was black and did that, oh, I would have been in jail a long time ago. But I used my white privilege to
I call it with Teddy. We call it. Oh my God, I'm sweating so much. I call it WLM. Right? Yeah, no. If I pass out, call my mother. No, White Lady Magic. I go WLM. There we go. Like if we stopped at a red light and it's late at night, I'll go through it. And he's like, what? I go, come on, we're not waiting for the light. And he goes, you can't do that. I go, White Lady.
And then if they try to pull you over with Teddy in the car, just go, help me.
I know, I don't know him.
He's holding me hostage. And they'll, excuse me, ma'am, we'll kill the black person.
Yeah, and he's just been so great.
No, he's the greatest person in the world.
He has, and he believes in me, which I think is another thing that's very important. Like your friends could co-sign your bullshit, and they're like, "You're okay," and you can go to a lot of open mics and see the same people and not get better. And my goal is to be the worst on a show. I want to be with the level of comics that are big. So I started sometimes producing shows, so I got better. You know, have you been on one of my shows and get better people on a show? So that I'm the worst, but I'm like, hey, I
But
made
that
the
goes
show.
back to what I was just saying. You're surrounding yourself with people at your level or higher to
100%.
elevate you. Because that's people say, oh, you got to start early and hit it early because, old people don't get, there's a lot of ageism in stand-up. There's a lot of ageism all over the world. It's ageism is like worse than racism and sexism.
Yeah.
And at least with sexism, you can just show them a nipple and get stuff. You can't show them your fucking AARP card and get anything,
It's true, but like, I see it definitely works to your advantage.
It does. It also, but being older, you have all this life experience, so you have something to talk about. And what a lot of young kids, that's why I always laugh. I always make jokes about the levels of comedy and of like, oh, I can always tell what year somebody's been doing it by watching their jokes and listening to what they're talking about. It's usually when they start off, it's masturbation, poo-poo, pee-pee, and giggly 5-year-old kid stuff that makes a kid giggle. And then when you're like that's the first 5 years, and then like from 5 to 7, those jokes stop working because it's like a growing spurt. It's like, okay, you're 5, 6, 7 years old, you're like a child. Now those little kiddie jokes aren't really they're not hitting. It's like, why? This used to always kill. Well, you're growing. You're not a child. You're not going to play with play school toys when you're 7 years old. You're like, that's kids shit. So you start peeling layers, and then you get more and more mature as you age in stand-up. But Rodney Dangerfield was like 51 years old when he started. So that's why he hit so hard. And plus it was at a time when comedy was fresh. It was the new thing. Everybody was jumping on the comedy bandwagon. It was a brand new genre of things to do. So he hit it just at the right time. But he had so much life experience that he was able to do those stupid ass jokes about being married and being self-deprecating. Like all his jokes have a lot of layers to them. If people listen to Rodney Dangerfield, he was fucking great. He was brilliant. But he had the life experience. It's just like, oh, who's this old fucking guy? But he hit at a time when it was, fresh. So we took everybody.
And I'm realizing that relatability and honesty, like you can't make up shit. And even, listen, everyone, and then someone would be like, this is a true story. You're like, well, then did everything you tell me bullshit? But in all honesty, a lot of the stuff I talk about, it really, you'll exaggerate it. But for the most part, it relates to my life.
You exaggerate for artistic integrity. You have to look at the shit I do.
Yeah.
It's exaggerated, because I just say what's on people's minds that are too chicken to say. And then I'll take something about it and I'll embellish it and make it bigger because you have to, because it's basically theater. Theater, if you go to a Broadway show, everything is big, because you have to be able to have the person in the back row of the balcony way up top be able to see you, what you're doing, and hear you. If you're really small and talking like this, they're not going to hear you.
And when they hear something, so I have a bit about like throwing.
Careful of hitting the microphone.
Oh, sorry. My foot is going to.
Oh my God, there's a tissue
Thank
right
you.
there.
No, I'll reach in a little bit until I melt. Oh my God, I'm so shiny.
All right, I'm going to cut to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Let me.
2, 1, and we're back.
Yes, we are, and we're less sweaty.
She is moist, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
know. Maybe I'm getting the menopause. I don't know. No, so what?
No, it's warm in here because if I run any fans or anything, it fucks with the
makes
sound.
noise.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do my best. I apologize.
I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Oh. No, so logically, if you think about it, when people come to a show, if I talk about like, getting rid of I had old sex toys in my top nightstand drawer. The nightstand drawer resonates with a lot of the women because the crowds that I go to in Pennsylvania or Philadelphia or New Jersey, the world is getting older, right? So the percentage of people that are going to be 60 plus is almost 44% in the next 5 years. And they have the most disposable income. Young people don't have the money. They have the most freedom because their kids are out of their house, and they still enjoy. They came up with comedy, so comedy was still a genre of entertainment for them. And if you really think about it, I was listening to Jimmy Carr. Comedy is not an old. It's as old as rock and roll, if you really think about it. I mean, you can go back to court gestures and stuff, 100%. But it is a young medium, and it's still in its infancy. So people of our age grew up with whether I was Def Comedy Jam, Half Hour Comedy, Pop-Up Video,
But remember too, Gen X. I'm sorry, I hate to brag, but Gen X, we are the best generation only because of the fact that we've gotten to experience both ends of the spectrum.
100%.
We grew up without any of this technology bullshit, so we actually had to go outside and play. We had to go to clubs to meet people. We had to go to work and interact with people. Otherwise, you'd be a fucking recluse in your house.
Yeah, make friends.
If you wanted friends, you had to get, grab yourself by the nuts and go outside and go say hi to people. You had to go to bars and meet people. You had to go to, concerts and meet people. So we were very social, interacting. And with social media really hitting around 2010, 2011, all that went out the door. So nobody really interacts anymore. So nobody really has any life experience anymore. So it's like, what are these kids talking about? So now we've had all this life experience. We were in our 40s when social media hit. So we actually had 40 years of life in us. So we had stories and experiences and all this great stuff. And then we turn around and this is a social media. We could put this on video. I'm a little at it myself, but it's fun. But we don't depend on that for our social gatherings. We don't depend on it to talk to people. We actually can pick up a phone like grown-ass people and talk to people on the phone or walk outside and say hi. A lot of these kids can't because they were never raised that way. They were raised on these phones. So we get to enjoy it in our older years, all this technology and all this fun stuff. But we have what they don't have is all that life experience that we're bringing onto the screen.
And you were forced to engage with, so again, being, traditional, Italian American, I know that I may sound old sitting here. Stores were closed on Sunday. You couldn't shop. So you were at your grandmother's, or I was in my grandmother's in Brooklyn, and my cousins and people. I had to talk to people I didn't know all the time or see and engage with people. And there was value in that. And then when you sit in a room full of people that can relate to, 17 people sharing a bathroom at a holiday and the uncle, being gross and not locking the door or whatever it is, that story. It resonates with people oh my God, I had an uncle like that, or I had a story like that.
We all have families, and we all have lives, and we all have human interactions with people we all do this stuff. But a lot of people, because they don't have those social skills outside of the house, that they don't know how to relate those stories on stage or on a thing.
And nobody demanded. My mother, we had to go. Now my kids were I don't want to go to someone's house. I'm like, fucking go.
My mother's get in the car, we're going to your aunt's, and we're going to go have dinner. And that's the way it was.
And that forced you, and that almost forces you to, to learn that skill. I have to learn how to relate to this one or tell that story. And if this story's not, then I'm going to end it sooner, or I'm going to move on to something else.
Well, it also teaches you how to turn it on. Just in general, just to go in public and turn on. Okay, boom, lights on. All right, hey everybody, and be personable, be open, be talking. But these kids, it's because what are you, 4 years in?
4 years, yeah, January, it'll be 5 years for the class, will be January.
Okay.
So I'll say 4 years, and I don't know if you count COVID, but let's say less years because I didn't know how high to hold the mic.
Yes. Fucking geez over there.
Oh,
geez.
whatever. No, 4 years.
4 years? Okay, so you're right. Yeah, so you're ripe and ready to eat kind of thing, you're
Yeah.
fresh. So you're out in Long Island in that scene.
Yes.
A lot, and you've become a real good fixture at Governor's Comedy Club with James and them.
They've been, I cannot say enough things, both for the audience responding to me and how good the management has good to me.
You are the audience. Do you know what I mean? Your genre,
I look like
you are, but you are because you're a mom, you're Italian, you live in Long Island, you live in the suburbs, you have a job, you have crazy kids, you are them.
Yeah.
So they really will cling to you. And when I go out there, they've never seen anything like it.
I
They go
watch
apeshit.
you like they're like, whoa. I mean, they love it, and then they don't know what to do with it because it's not.
It's new. They don't know how to think outside that box.
Yeah.
Because everything's so out in Long Island, it's such a small town that everything revolves around that 5-block radius of their house, and it's like, oh, you know, Jimmy went to high school at 5 points. What? Oh, so then you say a local reference out there,
They go crazy.
They go, you think you were the Beatles.
Yeah.
If you bring up a local fucking reference, it's hilarious. I'm like, God, they're simple.
I know, it's sometimes I hate to, sometimes I'm
But I
like,
love them because they're all garbage and those are my people. So
they're like, they're like, oh, these girls, dating apps. Obviously, we didn't come up with dating apps or whatever.
No.
And I'm like, I had to work hard. I had to like blow a guy and focus his, parking lot or whatever. And it's like a local nightclub that we all went to. And people are hilarious. And I'm almost like, that is so hacky and lazy. But they relate to it and they love it. And
well,
it's
hacky
fine.
and lazy there's a difference between hacky and lazy and relating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hacky and lazy is doing other people's jokes or street jokes or something you heard on the internet and then putting it in your act. And we all know those comics that hit the road.
I do.
And I'm like, what's with the fucking internet jokes for half an hour? Like, I don't want to hear this shit. I already know the punchline. Or what's with these airlines? I mean, hey, can't you give me the full can of soda? It's like I want to kill myself. Like, dude, don't you have anything else going on in your life besides flying? You're not a flight attendant. Fuck you. I don't care about your flight. I don't care about, it's just so fucking funny. But there's things when I go to different towns, like I'm leaving Thursday to go to Chicago with Andrew Dice Clay at the Plains Theater. Then we're off to Los Angeles, and then we're out in San Diego, and then we're back. So I'm going to be gone a couple of weeks. So the show will be on hiatus until September after this episode. It's only a couple of weeks, so I'm not like anybody really cares.
No, I care.
But so I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a couple jokes about Chicago and that area to connect with them. But it's not hacky, it's relating. It's connecting. Hacky is like, did you hear the one about the UPS driver? He had a killer delivery. And it's so dumb. And it's like, okay, now you're a hack and you're lazy. But doing your research on the town you're going to, especially like when I do, like every time I've gone on the road with Dice, I'm like, all right, I map it out. And then I'll write jokes usually I do sports team jokes because that's what everybody knows. In those towns like New England, it's all about the Patriots or the Red Sox. So I'll do shit about that. Or wherever I'm going, I'll do, something usually sports related, or I'll try to find out what the current event thing, like the current big headline is in the town, and then relate it from my point of view. But that's not being hacky or lazy. That's being smart and connecting.
Right, I mean, because people do appreciate it. Like, I made a joke. I did a show in New Haven, and Connecticut. There's a whole thing like, what part of Connecticut is like the scallops of New England? Like, it basically, I'm New York until I'm New England. When do I become boss? So I was like, I realized in Connecticut, the difference is Connecticut when the pizza starts to suck. I mean, literally, that is the. And like they like hooting and hollering. I'm like, okay, like that was just
Connecticut. I always think of Connecticut as white people food.
Yeah,
it's like bland. There's no seasoning.
I know.
That's how I feel about Connecticut. It's like bland chicken.
I know.
It's like, oh,
it's just Rhode Island's older cousin. Like they're just on their way to Massachusetts.
Their big seasoning is pepper.
I know. I think it's the nutmeg state. Like, it's so unimportant.
Yeah, it's not even cinnamon, it's nutmeg.
I know, what a douchey spice. So anyway.
I'm going to bust a nutmeg.
Oh.
Anyway. But
James and Ange and Manny out in Bohemia, they have the family at all three clubs. They've been, the names, I mean, you'll go from, Adam Carolla to, some road guys will come through and great guys come through every weekend.
Yep.
I was very fortunate. I've had the ability to open for Adam Ferrara.
Love Adam.
Dave Attell.
Love Dave.
Joey Cola. I mean, people have been very good to me. I mean, this weekend I just was, I got to feature. I mean, I'm blessed to do 25 minutes on a stage in Long Island. That's huge. I mean, New York City guys come out there because, New York City shows, you're 12 minutes.
Yeah, but also, like, I always tell people, I'm like, just because it's Long Island and it's still New York, it's still a road gig.
Yeah.
It's a cash grab. Governors, to me, is a cash grab. It's a one-nighter or a weekender. You go out, you do your shows, but it's close enough that you don't need a hotel room. You
Yeah,
can just
you
come
can
home.
railroad back, or
And
someone will drop you
I
off.
just railroad back, and it's just easier on the train, but because I don't own a car, but I just jump on the train.
No, and James and Laura, I cannot say enough
James
how
is
generous.
so sweet. Yeah, he's
unbelievable. Oh, I didn't think to touch. He's unbelievably kind to me, and I treat it as a business. I'm sober,
but it is a business.
I'm sober, so that helps. But I'm not like getting drunk. I'm not like who's sleeping with which waitress and
You're
stuff.
professional, and
Yes.
it's a business, and that's how that is more important. I hate to say it, than your act, because you could be the funniest guy on the planet and be a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Like a fucking disaster. You could be September 12th, 2001. That's a reference of like a disaster. The next day. You could be a horrifying, just disaster to work with, a mess, a junkie, a fuck up, you're late. And no one's going to want to book you or work with you no matter how great you are.
And let me tell you something. The wait staff matter. Not that I'm an expert. The audience listens, and especially so they do Thursdays and Sundays and review. They know who leaves a little tip, who picks up for them, who's not rude to the wait staff. The wait staff hears the joke. They're like, that joke again. The wait staff talks, and they have value too. And you see how the audience, James has said, I don't listen necessarily to the talent. I listen to how the audience reacts, and he knows right away when you get
smart.
people.
And that's how you should book your club.
Yeah.
How is the audience reacting? Because if they have a good time, people will be like, oh my God, I went to this comedy club the other night and it was so funny, we gotta go back. And then they tell their friends. I mean, back when Al Martin, God rest his soul, was alive, who owned Broadway Comedy Club, Greenwich Village Comedy Club, he used to own New York Comedy Club back in the day. It's where he started, and he sold it. So he just had the 2 locations left. And he would always tell me years ago, he goes, I don't care if you have 6 followers on social media.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Are you funny? He goes, because if you kill on my stage, I'm going to book you, because the tourists aren't coming for the names. They're coming for the experience, for the shows, for the, the compilation of the comedy, of the lineups. And he goes, when they leave having fun and they leave a review, he goes, I want 5-star reviews. I want email lists so I can, when they come back out, they can get on the email list and get more tickets and keep them. But I remember when Al was alive, when I was working there regularly, I met people that like, oh, we were here last year or 2 years ago. It was so much fun. And oh my God, I saw you then, like whatever.
Yeah.
In the Comedy Store where I grew up was the same way. We're all paid regulars. Mitzi, did all of the showcases. She did all the scheduling. But it was like, tourists. We depended a lot on tourism because we're big cities. So we depend on the tourist dollar. The local dollar is very important as well, because they're local, so you want them to be regulars. You want them, and a lot of comedy clubs in the off the beaten path in the suburbs and on the road have a regular fan base.
There's a couple. I know, like he's 95 and she's like I think 90. They come every week, and when we sit there, they remind me of like the Kellermans in Dirty Dancing. That old Jewish couple that's like sitting in the front, and all of a sudden they were like, I'm like, oh, I can't do the same stuff, and they were like, oh, you did new things today. And I'm like, oh my, because they're regular people that are coming every week, but it's a different crowd. And where people come up to you and they're like, I've never been to a comedy club before. My kids got me these tickets. And it's nice to see people, because we're so jaded. We think like everyone, like everyone and everyone that's come through. And they don't. Somebody's like, I've never done this before. This was great. How can I find you? When can I see? Yeah. It's a very nice experience, and I love it. I'm telling you, my friends, like my regular friends, are like, I left to join the circus, but the joy I get from comedy, I really do love
either
it.
You are or you aren't with stand-up, and it's like, a lot of comics, when I go, like even when I go out there, just for an example, since you live out there, I mean, I see a lot, I hate to say this, but I see a lot of shitty comics. I see a lot of lazy comics, and I see a lot of wannabes. And it's fine if that makes you happy and you're doing what you want. But some of them, I really just want to go, please quit comedy. It's not for you.
But they won't quit because they just did 7 bar shows, and their friends will then say, you killed. Like, I refuse to use the word. I want the word.
That's my favorite.
Kill. oh, you killed it. You killed it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I was at the same show. You didn't kill it.
I love when people come up to me after a show, like, man, you killed it. I'm like, nah, that's not killing. That was 8 people in a room. You know, that was.
Like, I went to see Earthquake. Earthquake kills. Like, Dion kill. Like, I've seen people kill. I've seen people, rip up. I've seen Teddy tear up a room for 45 minutes and we light him and he does another half hour. Yeah. That's killed, where people hurt. You know, I did a show, I had Daniel Simonson, who I adore, that people are still talking about him like 4 months later. You know, it's just a different, like, I know killed. And maybe these people don't know killed, so that's the level, they only have a lot of entertainment
well, it's also,
to enjoy.
they think that that's killing because that's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, like, they get mediocre laughs. Like, I go crazy when I see these kids post clips on social media of their stand-up, and there's no laughs. I'm like, what are you doing?
And an empty room. Like, Teddy's warned me before, like crop out there's no seats in the front.
If you do it, just at least spread the camera where it's just you, so you don't see the empty. I've seen more empty chairs online than I have in a fucking church.
Empty front row. Empty front. I'm like, dude, if it's empty front row, that is bad. Either... Yeah. Spread it out.
Spread the screen. Everybody just do this. That's it. That's all it takes. That's editing. That's editing 101. Yeah.
It's weird. But you're blessed that you've been, you've had good years and bad years, but you're even named in this industry. So for me coming up new, was the bringer, world.
Of course. That's the initiation. That's almost like the gang initiation.
I know, my ass is still bleeding from a couple of these
It's the thing that kills me with these bringers is that, okay, you're bringing audience, right? Which you have to. Everybody has to draw an audience.
Kevin Hart has said everything's a bringer. When he does The Garden, it is a bringer.
Yeah, because he's putting his
to bring it. Putting my name on the line.
His name's on the lineup. His name's on the billboard. So that brings the audience in. I always tell people, every show is a bringer.
Yeah.
It just depends on what level of a bringer it is. If you have to call people and beg them, or do you just put your name on the marquee and they show up? They're still bringing people off of your name. And I laugh at these people, but like it's that thing, oh, I'm too good for bringers. Well, no, you're not. And nobody's too good for any stage. There's no bad stage time. There's just some that are way better than others. And my problem with the bringer is the people that produce the shows and say they tell these kids, you got to bring 6 people at $25 a pop. So that's $150 for 6 minutes of stage time.
Plus $25 if you want the video, because you think that's important to have that video. So now I'm in, and sometimes I'll buy it, in the beginning. I would buy in advance. So now I'm in $175.
Yeah, and then if you bring people, they don't even pay the comics.
No.
Like, where's that money going? To their fucking rent in their pockets. It's like, at least if you have people bring like 6 people that pay a cover, throw them $25 or pay for their, say, you know what?
Yeah.
I got your tape. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I got it. And it's like, okay.
There are some that'll give $5. Some that'll pay your tape. I had one where it just so happened my friends were like, hey, can I see you? It just so happened I was doing something at like St. Mark's in the city or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I brought 35 people because whatever, it just worked out. That's what showed up that night. And you think that person would have been like, all right, well, I'll take off the first 6 and then I'll give you $5 for the other 29. And I didn't want to like make it off my friends, but did I get a prize for bringing 35? No, you just had a fuller show.
You know what you got for bringing 35 people? More headaches of people calling you to do their shows.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard Laura Patton brings like 30 people. Let's book her.
Because then she'll fill my room. I was getting a reputation of being, so in the beginning, my friends really came to everything and they were good. And I actually was producing a show and it actually got me noticed that don't produce a show, just bring it into Governors. And that's actually helped me a lot. But then I sort of got a reputation of book Laura, she'll bring a lot of people. So I met someone through a booker that we know, and they were going to put me on this show. And the guy was like, I was like being all eager and new. And I was like, oh my God, I just did a show. I sold out 100 people. I added a second night because we had so many people. And he goes, well, if I do a show, how many people do you think you could bring? And I was like, oh, like 35. Like I was being like, I'll scale it back, you know?
Right.
And he's like, all right, well, why don't you meet me? I'll sell you 35 tickets. You sell them for 55. You give me 35, so you keep 20, and then you meet me. So why don't you give me $750 now for the 30? I felt like Coco in Fame. Like I was just taking out my titties and sitting there crying, and I didn't want to then put this other booker that had recommended me in a. I didn't know.
How could you have known? I remember when that happened to you.
I know, and you know what?
And
It's
you know,
so
I wanted
great.
to kick your fucking ass.
I know, and then like Carrie Louise, I mean, so many people that I've spoken to have been like, everyone has a story like that, and sometimes Carrie like wants to yell at me. She's like, okay, I think when I'm like your comedy age, like when she made mistakes or
and
things happen.
Carrie Louise
Cotter, Tom Cotter's wife, who's been very, very kind to me
sweetheart.
too. I've been very, very lucky with people that have been good to me, because. But sometimes I call her like so embarrassed with stuff. She's like, all right, like I've been there. I wish it didn't happen to you, but it almost
So
is
I'm going to
supposed
tell
to
you this
happen.
now, Laura. Right before you make any stupid decision like that, you call me first, run it by me, and then I'll tell you, no, that's a good deal, or like, don't, please don't.
I know.
You know, and just I make Teddy call me. Don't, no, we're not doing that. You know, and a lot of people do call me to like, hey, let me run this by you because you have a really keen eye and a sense. You know, I do it with Dice sometimes. He'll show me something. I'm like, are you kidding?
I know. I'm like, should I?
Because he's so nice to, you know, people don't realize he's a really nice guy, you know, and he just wants, you know, when people are nice to him, he tries to be nice back. And I go, you can't be nice to everybody. They'll take advantage and fuck you over.
Well, it's funny. Like I see it for, I'm like, Teddy, don't cheapen your brand. Don't say yes to a pizza place in Hudson or whatever like that. But then I turn around and someone's like, hey, do you want to do the show with X? It's in Albany. I'll give you $50 and then you could pick them up in Manhattan and drive them home to Manhattan. Okay.
What's in it for me?
And I say yes, like a schmuck. When I get done with tolls and traffic and picking up or, oh my God, it's bad. So I'm learning to not say yes to those. Or if I say yes, it's intentional.
If you say yes, before you say yes, I want you to say these words to yourself. What's in it for me?
Yes.
And if the what's in it for you outweighs or equals the what's in it for them, then do it.
Yeah.
If you're getting something positive out of it, not $50 and a fucking headache of a 2-hour drive each way, and then have to deal with other comics in your car, probably not chipping in for gas.
Never.
Or buying anything because they're like, oh, Laura's got a job. Fuck her.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not how this works.
Although I will tell you, I just did a road trip with Ashley Austin, who I adore, by the way.
Ashley Morris, yeah, she's great.
Love her. Was unbelievably generous, although she bought like...
she also married money, honey. Well, she married a fucking hedge fund.
But she bought but she did buy gas station cold cuts, so I'm going to judge her on that.
Well, but she's still white trash. She may have married money, but she's still garbage, people. She's one of us.
She's very funny because she was like, I can tell my husband's rich because he leaves the lights on. Like, that's her thing. Like, she could tell, like, look at him walking around leaving those lights on. She was wonderful. She gave me more. We split. She was so kind about this.
But she also gets it. You know what I mean?
Wonderful.
She really gets it.
And I would have gone back. I would have gone just to even drive her back and forth because I adore her.
But she gets it, and she's kind, and she's funny, and she's great. But she gets it because she's been in that position.
Yeah, and we laughed in the car too. Like, we had an enjoyable car, and she was like, "You're funny," like just being funny. It wasn't like I was running my bits. We were just talking about
just bullshitting.
And she's like, "Do you do that on stage? Do you do that?" I go, "No, I don't even think to." That was just being.
But also, that's her, you know, nudging you, like, dude, wake up. Like, you have a lot of great. Because Teddy and I do that to each other on the phone. Do that on stage. He goes, "Homie, write that down," and I'm like, all right. And I'll tell him something, or I'll give him a tag. I go, put that in there, and it works. But it's like, but that's what we do for each other. We build each other up. We push each other. We encourage. And that's your tribe. Like, in lockdown, before lockdown, I had a whole different circle of friends in the city. Like, all circle comics that we used to do shit together. Lockdown hit, that disappeared. I found my new tribe through my buddy Jim Madrinos, who did this show, who's on the podcast Eon, like, last year. It's a great, he's great. I got to get him back on. But I've known him my entire comedy career. You know, he came up under Kinnison. He was the kid that Kinnison was pushing and taking care of and all that stuff. And so he knew me from when I was a waitress at the Comedy Store when I first started there in the mid-90s. So, and he was out there writing on MTV. And we were, what were we talking about? COVID. So he was in October of 2020, Tony closed the doors on Dangerfields. That was the end of the era of Dangerfields. And it had been failing for a lot of years, but that was like the nail in the coffin. They just couldn't maintain it anymore or whatever, so they let it go. And Al Martin called Jim Madrinos in like November, the end of November, like right around Thanksgiving, and said, hey, I don't want to end up like Dangerfields. Will you help me? Because at that time, Jim and his buddy John Guild had a video production company and stuff. And he called him and said, hey, would you keep my club alive? Use the name, do online shows. I'll give you my mailing list. I'll give you my comic roster.
Yeah.
If you could just book the shows, just keep my name. Whatever money you make, you keep. But use my mailing list. But just keep my name alive until we reopen. I don't want to end up like Dangerfield. So Jim said, sure, that's easy. I'll do that. So in December they opened, and I did we opened on December 24th, which was great, Christmas Eve. So I did that whole weekend. I headlined 2 of the 4 shows, and I'm on with people that I've never been in my circle because we don't have the same style. We don't have the same friends or the same, agents or anything like that. So I'm working with guys I used to like, oh wow, Mark Riccadonna, Richie Byrne, all these guys are like coming in and doing shows, and all of a sudden, and Gemini and all these East Coast guys, old school, and I'm like, oh my God, I used to hear about these guys, but I never got to work with them. Now we're doing every online show possible together as a group, and then when we reopened, Mark Riccadonna and I headlined out in Philadelphia together. We did a co-headlining show. And that was the first time we had met in person.
Really?
Yeah, and we were best friends over online. Like, we became like partners online, and I'm like, oh my God, we got to tour together, do like a Naughty Nasty show. Like, how funny is that? He was in Ohio for part of the lockdown at his parents' house. Him and his wife and the kids went out to their house in Youngstown. His mom's in love with me, his dad, like they all watch my sets and stuff. I'm like, your mom loves me? He goes, dude, you're totally her type of comedy. And it's so funny. So I got really close to his family. I got close to Richie and Gemini and all those guys out there. All of a sudden I come out of COVID with a whole new crew, a whole new tribe of people that get me and understand what I'm doing and don't like shun me for being a girl or being as abrasive on stage or being raw or edgy. They're just like, nope, you're one of us, kid, and it was like, and my old crew, I don't even talk to them. I talk to them at the clubs, but we don't roll. I mean, the only one I still roll with is the 3 I still roll with are my closest friends. We're the core 4. It's Teddy Smith, Gina Savage from the Comedy Cellar.
Love her, the nicest woman.
And Eric Marino.
All 3 great people.
Yeah, those are we're like the core 4. That's what survived COVID.
And thanks to you with Mark, I was at your
That's
taping.
right.
Thank you so much. And Mark asked me to do a show in a, I think it was a sex club. I really do.
Sure, that's Mark, because he's, why have family kid jokes when you can go to a sex club?
Yeah, it was under Bunker Doors in Philly. It was called the Velvet Whip.
Yep.
And there was a two-way mirror. So he said, I'm going to get dressed in here. Don't walk by. You'll be able to see in. And there was a gynecological table, and there were pig masks, and there was whips. And, that was a green room not to be believed. But we had a great show. Great show.
Did my name come up?
No, but he had Justin, and then he had the magician.
Oh God!
So he had the
Gemini.
whole,
Gemini's perfect for the Gemini. If you guys don't know, he's going to do the show when I get back because he's been on the road. But Gemini is probably one of the funniest, fucking crazy, carved out characters you'll ever meet. And he's my favorite human.
Mark is a doll, and I've really been very lucky with like the people.
Mark Riccadonna. He's done the show. We did the Parks Casino together, and we did the show out at Parks Casino, the podcast. And he's really one of the greatest people in stand-up. The kindest, most generous. Give you the shirt off his back. Loves to help people. Gets nothing out of it because he doesn't care because he gets plenty. He's just a kind soul, and I'm really grateful that he's part of my, family like this.
No, and I thank you to you, from things like that I got to meet.
That's fantastic. That's what we do. That's the part of the camaraderie. When I came up in the 90s at the Comedy Store, we were such a tight-knit family. We all look out for each other. And to this day, if I don't see them for 15 years, 20 years, like I just saw Joey Diaz at a show I did out in South Amboy. He showed up because he heard I was there.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen him since I moved to New York. And it was just like we just picked up where we left off. It was because we're a family. And we're always going to be like that. And that's the comedy that I grew up with. And the clubs they are now and how the comics are now, it's just they're all ice, oh no, leave me alone. They're not friendly. They don't give, it's like, it's not the same.
No, I've been told on once, like if I was hosting or something on certain, you can't be in the green room, don't make eye contact. Like I get that. And listen, they've earned that, I guess, whatever. I don't I don't pretend
It's a weird quirk, and
it's a weird
whatever.
quirk, and maybe there's a lot of people in this business that have a lot of social anxiety and stuff too.
A lot
I've
of them,
learned.
especially comics. Like Dave
Yeah.
Attell has a lot of social anxiety,
Yeah.
and I love Dave. He's my boo boo. I love him.
And he was incredibly generous in
Yes.
governors
Yep.
and
He
and
is.
his gratitude towards the club. And at the end, he brought us all up to like bump mics, and he had me host the 7, and then James had someone else hosting the 9:30, and Dave was like, give her 9 minutes, and I got a second set on this show.
Yeah.
He didn't
No,
need that.
Dave
it was
Attell
him and James
is-
Matter. I mean, it was a monster show, and they didn't need me.
yeah,
And
but
he let me have a set.
It
It
doesn't
was
matter.
unbelievable.
But see, Attell loves comedy.
Yeah.
And Attell loves what he does, and he's so great. And I was just talking to him like a week or so ago, and I was like, I said, I just want to let you know that I did watch your special.
Oh, it was so good.
And I said, it's probably one of the funniest specials I ever saw. If you guys didn't see it, it's Hot Cross Buns. You've got to
So
watch
good.
it. It's so fucking good.
38 minutes of good, as he'll
Yes.
stress.
Yeah, I go, it's short and sweet. And I said, and I said, it was just, he goes, oh, I'm really glad. He's like, I'm really happy you watched it. I can't believe you watched it. I'm like, of course I'm going to watch it, I gotta watch all my friends, I like to see what they're doing. And, I'm like, you didn't listen to my album, Brutally Yours, on Apple Music, Spotify.
I was at the taping, and I brought my Goomba cousins from Staten Island who are big fans. So
I know, I love them. I love your cousins.
they did. He was a muscle guy,
Yeah.
and he loved it.
Oh, he was great. He took all the beating.
Yeah.
But I love you so much, and I'm so glad you were here.
Oh,
And
thank you, and I apologize for the India Day snafu.
it's not your fault. No, it's not your
I'm
fault.
so sorry, Christy Miller.
No, that's www.leavemealone.com. Anyway, that was bad. I'm sorry, people.
Sorry.
And but I always wrap up the show with 2 questions.
Yes.
And I love this segment because it's fun and it's stupid and it means nothing, but it's a great time and I love to hear. And it's also just, more banter. So, question number 1. Is there a bit a comic has done that made you go, God damn, that was brilliant. I wish I had written that.
Yes, and I loved it as a consumer of comedy, and then now that I'm a comic, the fact that I can still remember it almost 35 years later.
Sure.
It was my first time seeing live stand-up because my dad, we were big Cosby and Hackett and
Right.
and Rodney Dangerfield stuff. But I was in college, I was at UMass in 1988, and I saw a live comedy show they would bring to colleges. So it was Eddie Brill, Judy Tenuta,
Oh, Judy.
Emo, and Richard Jenny.
Emo Phillips is so brilliant. Emo and Judy were and Richard Jenny, legend. Kind and very kind. He was very kind to me when I started. Very
Rick Fromm
kind.
has wonderful things to say about,
No,
and he
I
had
have-
a tragic ending, but a wonderful guy. He had a bit about why a lobster's always in from Maine. I don't know if you've ever seen the bit, but as he tells the story, the littlest nuance. He just, as he's talking, he's making lobster and he's like, yay, we're going to New York. like you think you're like, he's like, your lobsters are always in from Maine. And he's like, in Maine, they're hanging out. They're like, hey, I'm going on vacation in New York. And it's the littlest nuance, and it's simple, and it's
But he was so brilliant.
brilliant. And I still laugh about it. Like when I do that with my hand, people like know the bit.
Yeah,
And they're like,
it's
his lobster bit was brilliant.
brilliant. It was such a funny bit. God, I miss Richard Jenny. I miss that man. He was so kind and so funny. And on the second question,
Yes.
it's the fun one, because I opened for Paul Mooney for many years. He's why I moved to New York. And he would close his shows with street jokes.
Okay.
But he would Mooney-ize them and destroy. That's killing.
Yes.
Him killing. That's what
Black
killing is.
Trodamus, of course, could kill
Negro
anywhere.
Damas.
Or Negro Damas, my
God,
mistake.
You're such a white privilege. I hate her.
I didn't want to say Negro. I knew it.
It's Negro's okay. The other one's not. It's not allowed. And but anyway, so and also as comics, we like to crack each other up with stupid stuff. Like try to make the other person crack in the car.
Yeah.
So we tell stupid street jokes. What is your go-to street joke?
I was trying to think of one coming in. So I have some short riddles. So why did the squirrel fall out of the tree?
Why?
Because he was dead. I do like it.
That's a street joke.
People remember it. And what do you call an Italian hooker?
Huh.
A prostitute. It's good.
That's cute.
Or there is the Polish guy is going to work with the Italian guys, and they're going to breakfast, So the Polish guy is like, why do you always get the women? And the Italian guy goes, look, you got to finesse the waitress. Watch me. He goes, can I get some sugar? Sugar? And the waitress was like, ooh, and she brought over sugar, right? And then the second Italian guy goes, watch this. He goes, can I have some honey, honey? And she winks, and she was like, hey, hey, hey. So the Polish guy's like, I got this. So he comes over and he goes, can you bring me some bacon, pig? It's stupid, but you love him.
It's great. To me, that joke sounds like a Judy Tenuta bit.
Does it? With the
bring me some bacon, pig. Because she would always say, "Hey, pigs." I fucking loved her. Oh, I love you. Those are great. Yeah, those are fun.
I'm glad you like them.
Those are cute. So
thank you for having me. I'm flattered you think I'm new school.
Oh, you are. Well, I know you're 100. You're fucking Jesus was out when you were.
Oh my
you probably
God.
went and saw Jesus do 5 minutes at the grassy knoll. Anyway, did you hear the one about my dad? Anyway, tell everybody in old school, all my old school new schoolers out there, where they can find you on the socials and if you have any big shows coming up.
Yeah, so thank you for saying that. So I'm Laura Patton Comedy. My goal is to really try and grow my content out there. So please follow me on Instagram. I know all 1,000 of you. Please follow some more. And I have a big September, so I have it'll be up on my calendar, but I have a show in Arlington, Virginia. I'm with Teddy at Wisecrackers in Wilkes-Barre. I have something else. The 13th, 14th, the 7th. I'll
just look at her calendar.
I should know. Look at my calendar
Comedy.
that I'll update. But I have a very big September. So thank you so much. Oh, I want to have a show at the Bay State. No, the Bay Air. Oh, Sag Harbor. That's terrible. No, in Sag Harbor, I have a theater. September 14th.
Oh, well,
in Sag
it's the day before my birthday.
Look at that. At the Bay Street Theater. Thank you.
That's cute. I've heard of that place. Yes.
It's lovely.
And, don't forget to follow me here at the Old School, New School Comedy on Instagram and my own personal Instagram handle or social media stuff at Christy Miller Comedy. Like I said at the beginning, we will be on hiatus until the middle of September because I am going on the road with Dice for a couple of weeks. So we'll be in Chicago at the Plains Theater in Illinois, and then we're off to Los Angeles, and then we're off to San Diego for 2 shows at Mic Drop, and I think that's September 7th. Anyway, but just check with my Instagram, at Christy Miller Comedy. Check all the socials, check everything, and follow us here at Old School, New School Comedy. Like us. Subscribe, follow on Apple and Spotify, follow on YouTube, and leave comments, and leave us your favorite street jokes on the comments. And last but not least, share the show. We love you. See you next time.